President Joe Biden conjured the vision of Americans coming together to regain their freedom from the worst effects of the pandemic. This was a nation that had been long dead and silenced by illness and death, and which exploded back into life on July 4. The president could not declare complete independence from the virus as he had hoped. A more infectious Delta variant was bearing down on Americans who remain skeptical about the vaccines promising full national restoration. According to the most recent Centers for Disease Control and Prevention data, 67.1% had received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine as of July 4. This is just below his original goal of 70%. Biden spoke in a passionate speech to a packed Independence Day party at the White House that night. Biden stated, "Now I believe, I give my word as a Biden, I believe that we are about to see our brightest tomorrow." Although there were concerns about infection spikes among Americans who aren't vaccinated in the months ahead, there was an ebullient mood from coast to coast as people flocked to see the annual fireworks display. People crowded the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., while the National Mall was packed with families. In the first moments of national shared experience, catharsis, and national unity since COVID-19 arrived on American shores, a huge party took place. New York City's sunset, pleasure boats filled the harbor as the sun set. The Beach Boys with John Stamos, from Fort Lauderdale, recalled the golden summers of pre-pandemic times and wished that all girls could become California girls. Live bands played in front of large crowds in cities like Nashville and Philadelphia. After 9 p.m., spectacular fireworks displays were displayed over Manhattan and Washington. As the skies became darker across the continent, spectacular fireworks displays erupted over Washington and Manhattan. The Washington finale ended with a loud chorus of fireworks and detonations that transformed the sky above the Capitol into a deep, fiery shade. Biden's speech was at once a patriotic pep talk, a rallying cry to the elusive national unity upon which he anchored the presidency, a moment for mourning 600,000 Americans who lost their lives to COVID-19, and a public service announcement about the power of vaccines. It was clear that Trump was trying to bank political capital by promising to take control of the pandemic. Nearly 40 years after President Ronald Reagan declared his "Morning Again in America" moment, Biden did the same. Just think back to where the nation was 1 year ago. Biden stated, "Think back to where you were 1 year ago. Think about the progress we've made. From quiet streets to crowded parades lined by people waving American flags. From families pressing their hands against a glass to grandparents hugging grandchildren once more." The specter of a mutating virus, which has an almost uncanny sixth sense in targeting U.S. political divisions, still hangs over celebrations that were the most hopeful for 16 months. Although the virus no longer affects our lives or paralyzes us, the president stated that hard work is still ahead. Biden stated that, just like the 1776 Independence Day was a call for action, it is not a reason to be complacent or claim victory. The same applies today. Some experts are concerned that July 4th barbecues or crowds for fireworks could become their own super-spreader events, in areas where people have not been able to resist the argument of the Democratic president that getting their shots is an act demonstrating ultimate patriotism. Biden's event was not required to have attendees vaccinated. Only COVID-19 testing was performed by the White House. Biden was unmasked as he walked into the crowds at Saturday's event to celebrate America's reopening. Biden's return to face-to-face politics seems to be intended to convey the message that once someone is vaccinated, any impediments to life that have impeded it over the past year will disappear. If you don't have a vaccine, you aren't protected. Jeffrey Zients, White House COVID-19 response coordinator, stated that the United States had further advanced in fighting the pandemic than most people thought. He stated to Dana Bash that he doesn't believe the U.S. has reached a plateau in vaccine take-up despite being skeptical about vaccinations in conservative areas. He stated, "If you're unvaccinated, then you aren't protected. So we're going double down our efforts to vaccinate more Americans in July and August." Anthony Fauci, the government's top infectious disease specialist, stressed that areas with low vaccine penetration could be in for some miserable months. On NBC's Meet the Press, he stated that although the United States is unlikely to experience a spike in COVID-19 infection rates, the Delta variant would indicate that there will be regional virus hotspots. Fauci, who was attacked by Trump's conservative allies and eager to hide his poor handling of the virus, appealed to Americans to overcome their politically motivated skepticism about vaccines. Fauci stated, "For the sake of goodness, forget all those differences and realize that virus is the common enemy." Thomas Frieden, former director of CDC, stated that the vaccine program was created under Trump's administration in an apparent effort to inoculate it from politics. "This is a great triumph. The Trump administration developed the vaccines. They were then widely implemented by the current administration. They are not a victory for Democrats or Republicans. They are a victory for the people over the virus." Frieden stated on Fox News Sunday that the more people who are vaccinated, the better we will be able to do. "We can live our lives." Data back Biden's comeback story. New COVID-19 cases average around 12,600 per day, a decrease from the peak of 250,000 during the darkest days. CDC has tracked the average death rate for Americans over the past 7 days, which is 257 per day. This is despite a greatly improved situation. This triple-digit death toll could almost be avoided with vaccines, which is the most tragic part. Fauci stated to Meet the Press that 0.8% of deaths due to COVID-19 are currently being reported in those who have been vaccinated. After months of disappointing numbers, new figures show that 850,000 people went back to work last month. On Thursday, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, director of the CDC, spoke out about the significant difference in vaccination rates. She stated that approximately 1,000 U.S. counties have a vaccination coverage rate of less than 30%. This leaves a large opportunity for the Delta variant, which is mainly in the Southeast and Midwest. The virus continues to rage worldwide, with many people not having access to vaccines in the U.S. or other wealthy nations. The mood of celebration was a sign of hope that COVID-19 may be defeated, even if it isn't yet. The president made a comparison between the liberation of a new nation from colonial oppression, and the same nation 245 years later in freedom from viral dominance. Biden stated, "Back then, we had the power to an idea on our side. Today, science has the power to change our lives." He continued, "Thanks to our heroic vaccination effort, we have gained the upper hand against the virus. We can live our lives. You can send your children back to school. The economy is recovering. Like, comment and share. Subscribe to the channel. Also, press the bell icon to get notified by every video of Daily Reuters."